Have you ever wondered who's really pulling the strings at a university? Behind the lectures and the libraries? Well, there's this kind of hidden operating system running in the background, a framework called shared governance that pretty much dictates everything. Today, we're going to crack open that code and see exactly how it works.
So let's ask the big question. Who really runs the place? Is it the president? Some powerful board of trustees? The government? You might think it's one of them, but honestly, the real answer is way more complex and a lot more interesting. The thing is, it's not supposed to be a top-down hierarchy at all. It's meant to be a partnership. At the very heart of all this is a concept called governance. Just think of it like the university's foundational structure. It's the invisible architecture that shapes every single thing, from the classes you take to the long-term goals of the institution. And look, we're not just talking about some dusty bureaucratic rulebook here. The core idea, which is rooted in some really key European higher education principles, is all about creating a genuine sense of shared ownership. It's about making sure everyone, students, faculty, and staff, feels a common responsibility for where the university is headed. It's really about building a community. So what's the end game with this whole partnership model? I mean, it's not just about having meetings for the sake of it, right? The goals are actually super concrete. You're looking to boost the quality of education, make sure the university is socially responsible, and hold everyone accountable. And when all those pieces work together, you get a much, much stronger community for everybody. Okay, so we get the goals, but what is shared governance really? When you get right down to it, what does this partnership actually look like? Let's define it. At its core, it's what's known as the partnership model. And the idea is actually pretty simple, but it's also incredibly powerful. It says that students, academic staff, and administrators, they aren't just people who happen to be on campus. No, they are active and accountable partners in making the big decisions that shape the institution. Now, this partnership isn't just some vague feel-good concept. It comes with very specific rights. It means students and staff can organize freely, they can vote in fair elections, and this is probably the most important part, they have the right to have their views not just listened to, but genuinely heard and considered in every single decision-making body. And this brings us to an absolutely critical point, which is captured perfectly in this phrase from the source documents: the freedom to express views without fear of reprisal. Seriously, those last 4 words, they are everything. Because that right, the right to speak up, to critique, to offer a different point of view without being punished for it, that is not just some nice little bonus feature. It is considered a totally inseparable element of academic freedom itself. You really can't have one without the other.
All right, so we've got the principles down, but what's the actual blueprint for making decisions together? How does this whole thing work in the real world?
You see, a real partnership isn't just showing up for a one-off vote. It's a continuous cycle where partners are involved at every single stage. That means helping to set the initial agenda, having a hand in drafting the proposals, voting on them, and then even monitoring how well those decisions are actually working after they're put into practice. And the scope here is just huge. This partnership principle isn't just for some high-level university board meeting. It's meant to apply at all levels, from what happens in a single academic department to the entire institution, and even all the way up to national and international policy discussions. Okay, so for a system like this to actually function, everybody needs to know what their role is. So let's break down the specific rights and responsibilities for each of the key players. And there's a really clear division of labor here. The universities themselves, they're on the hook for creating a cooperative environment and making sure student and staff representatives have the resources they need. But it's the public authorities, the government, that have the job of actually writing these principles into law and creating the stable conditions needed for them to work. So what exactly does this consultation cover? Well, basically all the core gears that make the university run. We're talking about curriculum design, policies for making sure student access is fair, big financial decisions, how staff are recruited, and making sure employment is secure. These aren't just side issues. This is the central business of the university. And all of this brings us right back to the central theme here. Why does any of this matter to you, whether you're a student or a member of the staff? Well, for this partnership to be genuine, it has to be inclusive. The principles are really clear on this. Meaningful engagement must include students from disadvantaged backgrounds and also early career academics. The very people whose voices are so often overlooked and whose situations can be the most precarious.
Ultimately, it all boils down to one single core principle. A university's democratic legitimacy, its very foundation, is built on the meaningful participation of its entire community. Without that, the whole structure really starts to get shaky. So, I'll leave you with this question to think about. Looking at your own university through the lens of everything we've just talked about, is it truly built on partnership? And what role do you play in that system?